This book about cheese is a masterclass in mindset for young entrepreneurs. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's a simple story about mice, a maze, and the courage to adapt when everything changes. Because in business, your cheese is your comfort zone, your clients, your audience, your platforms, and even your success. And when the cheese moves, you've got two choices: evolve or starve. Like the book says, people who sit and wait for the cheese to appear in the same location will end up failing in business. So let's talk about what happens when your cheese moves and how to make sure you're not the one left behind in the maze.
You want to be a young boss, but your sales are stuck. You're burned out trying to find the right people, and you end up doing all of the work yourself. You're bleeding money, and you're fighting to keep your business afloat. I've been there. I'm Isabelle, and I've scaled businesses to millions, and I've watched ideas burn to the ground. And I know exactly what it takes to survive and win. This is Young Boss, the podcast that helps you break through the barriers standing between you and the business you deserve, where youth is your power.
4 characters, 1 maze, 1 disappearing pile of cheese, and a mirror for every entrepreneur who's ever resisted change. In this book, it's about 2 mice and 2 little people who find cheese in a maze. Now, this cheese can represent money and success, whatever you want it to in your own life or your own business. These mice and people go back to the cheese every single day. Once they know where it is, they're excited about it, but they never start to realize that the cheese starts to smell bad. The cheese is going bad, and eventually it's less and less cheese there. Now, when the cheese is no longer there, 2 of the characters keep going back to the same cheese and realizing it's never going to come back. It's disappeared and it's never coming back, but they are stuck in their mindset of saying, this is what once worked. Let's keep doing this. It will reappear again. This is the place we know where it is. This is it, right? And the other 2 characters, they start hunting for new cheese. So the lesson in life and business is that those who adapt survive. There's always going to be change in business. There's always going to be change in life. That's the one constant thing that we can always count on. But the moral of the story is that the 2 who took off not only found the cheese faster, but they also learned the new ways of failure faster, what does and doesn't work. They got to go down the aisles and the pathways that weren't a fit and figure out how to get there. But the 2 who took a long time, they finally eventually found that cheese, but they were way behind. So what is your cheese? Think about it. What is bringing you success right now, but it may or may not bring you success in the future? You've got to keep an eye on that cheese. Always be testing. Let the numbers show you. Is this cheese starting to go bad? Or is there less and less cheese every time you come back to this pile? That is time for you to start pivoting. Before the cheese pile is gone, we've got to figure out where is it moving to, because there is always another place where the cheese is. It's not that the cheese disappeared forever, right? Cut to the chase. The cheese didn't disappear. It moved, and you have to figure out where it moved to. Have you ever kept going back to the same spot that used to work? Maybe a product, a platform, a partnership, and it's not paying off any longer? Well, it's time to mix it up. I know for us, we've had this problem 1,000,001 times, whether it's, webinars that used to work all the time, and then we realized, oh my goodness, we're getting less people showing up, less people buying. This is just not working. So we switched to lives on social media, similar but different. And then that worked for a while, and then it stopped working. Now we switched to challenges. Okay, we're doing challenges on this. Listen, you have to always be innovative, because the maze isn't the problem. The problem is refusing to move. You have to keep moving and getting creative and innovative, because the cheese is always moving. Listen, markets shift and platforms fade. Algorithms change and customers evolve. If you haven't noticed, customers are completely different today than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So this is really important, that you are always looking to adapt. And I mean, not just on your product, but business marketing. How do your clients want to be spoken to now that maybe didn't speak to them a while ago? Or what are they looking for in the future? Leadership. This might be a way that you need to change and, adapt to new current trends. There may be new positions or new ways of thinking that you need to bring onto your team. And then tech adaptation. There are so many different ways that if you are not bringing in tech and AI into your business, you will get left behind. If you ask me, that's one of the biggest cheeses that has moved lately, and people really need to figure out how to add that into their business to stay current, to stay afloat. The ones who adapt faster don't just survive, they innovate. So this is really important because yes, the other two characters eventually found that cheese, but how much money did they lose in the meantime? How much longer did it take them, right? Because they wasted all this time thinking that it was going to happen again. And they got hungry in the meantime. That might mean in your own business, having to fire people, having to shut down departments, having to become a skeleton crew. That sucks, right? As a business owner, that sucks. So stubbornness equals starvation. And in business, that is not fun. Adaptability equals abundance. Now, let's just say your business gets a ton of traction on Instagram. And then 3 years later, the world is moving on to something else. Well, your cheese moved. So you need to move with that platform. Maybe that's TikTok now. Maybe it's X. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. There's always going to be a new thing popping up. And it's your turn to figure out how your business can move and make money over there. How do you make this happen? I'm a part of a bunch of different Facebook groups where people will go in and they will drop all the new social media platforms that are working, what they're for, who's kind of on them, and how you can really make your mark on those platforms. Now, I never know if they're going to work, but what I don't want is to not make that pivot, not jump onto the new platform. And 5 years later, people are making millions of dollars off of it. And I didn't make the switch. And now I lost that time and opportunity. So I will sign up for every new platform, whether it lasts for a week, a year, or a month, because the faster you make the decision, the faster you put effort into those forms, you're going to fail. Trust me, you'll fail. But as soon as you find that one path of success, that one opportunity, boom, you're back in business. We've talked about this a million times. You're gonna have to fail fast. And how to fail fast is by realizing, okay, the cheese isn't there. Maybe try one more time, but then after that, pivot. How do we go to the new place it is? And maybe every day you're failing. You're failing on trying a new platform. You're failing on trying a new product. You don't understand where it's gone and what's happening. And it is scary. You guys, it is a really scary situation to be in when the world changes and you don't know how to react to it. You don't know how to pivot, and no one around you can really tell you where to go or what's going on. So you just have to really buck up in one of these situations and become that entrepreneur that you say you are, become that young boss that you are, and really change, figure out what to do, stay alert and get ready for it.
Hey there, it's Isabelle from the Young Boss Podcast. And if you are a bookworm like me, then guess what? We have created an incredible book list for you based on all of the amazing recommendations we've received from our incredible guests with over 100 episodes and amazing guests. They drop books all the time in these episodes. And you're probably sitting there driving in your car at your workout and not able to jot them down. Don't worry, we've got your back. Go check out the link in the show notes where you can find the list of all of the amazing book recommendations and get started on your learning. These are self-development. These are growth and mindset books. These are business books, and they're helpful to a young boss at any level. So go check out the book list. And now back to the show.
Personally, one of the things that we really look for in business is when our numbers start to drop, positive or negative, but especially negative, we're looking so in depth as to exactly where they dropped. So is it show rate? Is it less text messages that were opened? Is it less this, less that? And if I can pinpoint exactly where this is happening, now that is where I need to start to focus. That's when you're focusing on where the cheese starts to smell bad or where there's less cheese, right? Because your success, your business isn't built on finding cheese once. It's built on becoming the kind of person who knows how to find it again and again. And how you find it again and again is being privy to where and when it's disappearing. So you have to get your KPIs, your numbers, your data in alignment so you can start to see those trends and understand them and understand how to fix them. And that's how you stay ahead of the game. The book may be about mice, but the lesson is 100% mindset. there's really a lot of pillars we can take from this book. And it's a super short book, a very quick read. So get it on Audible, get it on Amazon, just listen to it. Listen to it one afternoon. You probably already read this book back in the 90s or early 2000s, but it's such a great book for you to review as a business owner. Because number one, change happens. The cheese is always going to move, so you need to figure out where and how you're going to find it. Two, you need to anticipate change. You need to smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old and look for numbers dropping. Three, monitor change. Keep your eyes open and don't get comfortable. When you see those changes, don't lie to yourself. Don't think it'll come back. There'll be more tomorrow. The world just doesn't get it. They'll figure it out. No. 4, adapt quickly. The quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you find the new cheese. Okay? And 5, enjoy change. Embrace discovery and where growth happens. I starred this little page in the book because it said, imagine myself enjoying new cheese even before I find it. That leads me to it. I think when you enjoy the change, when you figure out that, hey, it's a new stage of entrepreneurship for me. I figured out my success once and I get to figure it out again. Enjoy that moment. Yes, it's scary, but this is what the journey's all about. It's about figuring out how to continually reinvent yourself, reinvent your products, and reinvent your brand. You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. You are someone who can do this. And so believe in yourself. And number 6, you need to be ready to change again because the cheese will move again. Even after you find it, even after you figure it out and answer all those problems, it's going to happen again. You know, when I think of all of those pillars, one of the hardest ones for me to deal with is that last one. That, hey, you finally get innovative, you finally get to figure it out again, but then boom, it happens again. And you're like, our world moves so fast, you guys. It's going to be constantly changing. And so this is something where you can't bring yourself in that state of mind out of it, in it, out of it. No. You got to stay in it. You got to constantly be watching those numbers and constantly thinking about what if this goes away, right? Whether that means you are doing a SWOT analysis, right? Your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm constantly looking at our weaknesses and threats saying, where could something go wrong? What if one system broke and this happens? What if one competitor comes in and takes this away from me? All of these different things, if you don't keep your finger on the trigger, they will get taken away. And it's going to happen over and over again. So you have to stay ready. Okay? Personally, we monitor these things by checking in on that data over and over again, just keeping it at the forefront every single day, every single week. I am looking at numbers. As the CEO and kind of owner of your business, really part of your role is to keep your finger on the pulse. It's to keep the numbers at the forefront of your business. So every little thing that happens, you should know and understand why it's happening, where it's coming from, and be figuring out your pivot. That's your job. You're in charge of all of this. So you have to make sure to figure out where we're going next. There's so many different angles of business where we think things will never change, but the reality is they're constantly changing. And your job isn't just to protect the cheese. Leave that to the CFO. It's to protect your ability to find it. Every time you resist change, you're choosing comfort over growth. And in business, comfort is a killer. Be the group that goes and hunts for new cheese. You know, when we talk about being an entrepreneur, we always talk about how you need grit. The entrepreneurs who move have grit. They are willing to go days without finding that cheese, days without hunger to figure out what it is, instead of being lazy and praying and hoping it comes back to where it once was. Those who wait are lazy. Which category do you want to fall in? Do you want to be a business owner that lasts for the next 10, 20, 30 years? Then you've got to put yourself in that mindset of saying, I'm going to be uncomfortable for a minute. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail over and over again, but I'm never going to stop trying. Because when you fail fast, you learn what doesn't work along the way. You get to figure that out a whole lot quicker. The person who runs towards the goal figures out all the roadblocks, all the potholes, all the things that are going to happen. Then the one who sits there and walks slowly, they're like, oh, I don't know. Yes, you could say, oh, well, I get to watch that person fall. But do you? Because you're not even far enough ahead on the path. You can't even see them. They're going so fast. Innovation thrives on momentum, not perfection. You have to move. This is kind of like a iteration of so many different episodes that we've had over the years where we talk about speed, we talk about failing fast, we talk about innovation and staying on top of it. This book really just puts it all together. And to say that this is an age-old tale, it's a really old book, but it's a classic. And it just keeps this at the forefront of our mind. And I think it's important to reread it yearly so that we can continue to stay innovative and creative and think of the different ways where our cheese might be moving, if not today, tomorrow, so that we can honestly keep pushing forward. If you're not sure where you're missing this in your business, ask yourself, where are you currently stuck in a comfort zone? What's something that has worked in the past and it's just not working as well anymore and you're not sure why? That's something you want to focus on. And then I want to ask, what would moving your cheese look like right now? If all of a sudden the thing that's bringing you in income goes away like that, what would that look like? What would you do? And start making those plans. Because the ones who win aren't the ones who find the cheese once. They're the ones who never stop exploring the maze. The more that you explore, the more chances you have to win. So the next time something changes, your algorithm, your audience, your income, don't panic, smile, and just say, the cheese moved and so will I. Because success isn't about finding one formula that works forever. It's about staying curious, adaptable, and brave enough to move when the maze shifts. If you haven't read Who Moved My Cheese yet, or it's been a while, this is your reminder to pick it up again and make it a yearly reread. Every time you do, you'll see a new part of yourself and your business that's been standing still. So keep moving, young boss. The cheese never stays in one place. Thanks for listening to another episode of Young Boss with your host, Isabelle Garino. Be sure to like, share, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And remember, youth is your power.